Apple just released the iPhone 16e to the public, and I'll be comparing it to the iPhone SE 3rd generation to answer a few questions. First, is it worthy of the title as the new budget-friendly iPhone? And second, is this a model that you should consider upgrading to? To track everything, I'll be using a point tally system where each category is worth a point. I have a total of 8 categories I'll be covering, and at the end, it will show if the SE still has its perks over the 16e, or if the 16e dominates its features over the SE. Most importantly, after going through everything, it can help you determine if it's actually worth the upgrade if you are currently sitting on the fence. But without further ado, let's get the phones out of their box. The iPhone 16e box has a fun little Easter egg. When you shine a black light on it, the word iPhone will appear. The first category I'll be covering is the exterior design. Starting with the back of the phones, the glass switched over to a textured matte finish on the 16e, which I personally like the look of, but think it's more difficult to grip when you aren't using a case. And the second notable change is the larger rear camera lens, which I'll be covering in a separate category. The iPhone 16e followed what the current flagship models did, where the sides are mostly flat with the top and bottom being rounded off, whereas the sides on the iPhone SE are completely curved. Of course, I'm gonna also lean towards the SE on this topic as curved sides feel more natural in the hand, but the 16e has one of the biggest improvements, removing the large bezels to maximize the screen size. When you add everything together that's been done to the iPhone 16e, it really modernized it, especially when you look at where the iPhone SE stands, as it's using the iPhone 8 design from 2017. Therefore, when it comes to the exterior design, I'm gonna have to give the point to the iPhone 16e. The next category I'll be going over is photography, but regarding the single rear camera lens, it's been upgraded to 48 megapixels, so we should see some pretty decent results. Starting with some flowers, the first significant difference I noticed is the vibrant colors of the image with the 16e. Additionally, zooming in reveals sharper lines, which also makes the scratches on the sprinkler pipe more noticeable. As for long distance photos, they seem pretty much the same, but the SE did make the trees and bushes look a tad more green. Stepping it up to how far each phone can zoom in, the 16e can achieve a 10x digital zoom, whereas I can't say a number for the SE as all you get is a sliding plus minus bar. So for the sake of this, I'll say it could do roughly a 7x zoom. Let's take a look at the quality when it comes to recording videos. I set both phones to their highest quality being 4K at 60 frames per second and recorded roughly the same area, which showed a few differences. The first one being the SE almost completely blacking out the bush and any other landscaping to the left, whereas the 16e was able to retain the color and texture of those plants. The second one is while walking down the sidewalk. The SE completely whited out the clouds in the upper right portion, whereas the 16e had no issue with the transition. Now I want to see how far we can take night mode on the iPhone 16e, and to do that, just gotta wait for the sun to go down. Alright, let's go see what we can capture. For this portion, I used 3 exposure settings. First a 3-second handheld, then a 10-second handheld, and last a 30-second tripod. Comparing those 3 shots taken with an iPhone 16 Pro Max since the iPhone SE has no support for night mode, I'll say it's pretty decent, definitely better than what I've seen in the past with like an iPhone 11 or 12. I think it's pretty obvious which phone has won this category, especially since the iPhone SE couldn't compete in a whole section. Therefore, when it comes to photography, I'll be giving the point to the iPhone 16e. For the next category, let's take a look at the display between the iPhone SE and 16e. We saw a major improvement in both the type of display and display size. The iPhone SE is using a 4.7-inch LCD display, while the new iPhone 16e is using a 6.1-inch OLED display. For those of you who don't know the difference, an LCD display has a general backlight to illuminate the entire screen, while an OLED display has an individual LED for each pixel that can be controlled separately. As a result, it can display inky blacks with no light, while a different portion is showing a bright high contrast color at the same time. Some other perks OLED has over LCD is it can provide a brighter image, making it easier to see in bright lighting conditions, and it can provide better viewing angles. Since OLED overall outweighs LCD displays, I'm going to give the point to the iPhone 16e, but I'm not factoring in the screen size as I know there are some people that prefer a smaller display. After this next category, we are halfway through, so let's find some crispy copyright-free music on YouTube and put the speakers to the test. Just break my Yeah, that's a definite win for the iPhone 16e. I'll be comparing the biometric authentication, as in this case we have two different types. The iPhone SE has Touch ID built into its home button, while the iPhone 16e has Face ID in its notch. What I'm looking to do is test them side by side to see which one is faster and easier during setup and everyday use. Running through the setup process, Face ID proved to be way faster than Touch ID as it only required one scan. But when it comes to everyday use, Touch ID proved to be faster as your finger is already on the scanner to wake the iPhone up. That is if you use your correct finger. Even though Face ID takes a second longer, its accuracy is way higher as you only have one face, and it still works if you're wet. As for the point, I'm going to leave it as a draw as it can vary on your own personal preference, but if I personally had to choose one, it would be Face ID with the iPhone 16e. Let's take a look at what's going on inside with a benchmark test. The iPhone SE is equipped with the A15 Bionic, while the iPhone 16e is equipped with the A18. This first test will reveal just how much the CPU has improved in both its single and multi-core performance, and as a quick refresh keeping it simple, the CPU is responsible for the computing aspect, like how fast and efficient can it solve a question you ask. The iPhone 16e finished first at 4 minutes and 22 seconds. And the iPhone SE finished last at 5 minutes exactly. Comparing the scores, there are some major improvements. For starters, the single-core score went up over 1,000 points, let alone the multi-core score increasing by about 2,700 points. The thing to keep in mind is there's a 3-year gap between chips, which is primarily the reason for the significant difference. The second test will be conducted on the GPU, which primarily functions to render graphical user interfaces, such as icons in an operating system and visuals in a video game. The iPhone 16e finished first once again at 1 minute and 25 seconds, while the iPhone SE finished last at 1 minute and 39 seconds. It's no surprise that the iPhone 16e scored about 5,500 points higher than the iPhone SE, but regarding the A18 chip, it did bring an upgrade to Siri. The A18 chip brought full access to Apple Intelligence support on the iPhone 16e. Additionally, we also received the Action button, which came with a new setting to access visual intelligence as there's no dedicated camera control button. When it comes to the winner for the A-series chip, I'll be handing the point over to the iPhone 16e as it has a significant boost in performance and comes with Apple Intelligence. There is one last thing that was changed between the two phones, and that's the charging port. The iPhone SE is using the Lightning charger that's been around since 2012, whereas the iPhone 16e made the switch to USB Type-C. It may upset some of you when you already have a bunch of Lightning chargers and accessories, but here are some of the pros USB Type-C has over Lightning. The first example, it's universal as it's not just Apple who uses it. You'll find it on all sorts of different products from all sorts of different companies, including Samsung and Google. The second example is to use your iPhone as a battery pack to recharge, let's say, wireless microphones, air compressor, AirPods, Apple Watch, and so much more. As a quick note, when it comes to wireless charging, just keep in mind that the iPhone SE doesn't support MagSafe, nor does the iPhone 16e, but they do both support regular wireless charging. As for the point when it comes to charging, it will be going towards the iPhone 16e as USB-C offers more pros overall, especially when it comes to convenience in the long run, only needing a single cable for everything whether it's Apple or not. For the final category, let's go over the price of the iPhone 16e to see if the price hike is justifiable for everything that was changed. As a quick refresh, the iPhone SE started at $429 before it was discontinued. Meanwhile, the iPhone 16e starts at $599, receiving an increase of $170. Even with the increase, the iPhone 16e is still cheaper than the iPhone 16 by $200. But it can be argued by pricing it closer, it can tempt consumers to start climbing up the price ladder going, oh, I'll get these features for just this much more. The other thing to consider is the lower priced iPhone is more of an entry product into the ecosystem and for those who couldn't care less about bells and whistles that just want a phone that works. And part of the reason the iPhone SE was able to be priced so low was it used parts from previous iPhone models that became cheaper to manufacture as time goes on, while the iPhone 16e has some unique parts designed specifically for it that will cost more to manufacture. Therefore, at a price standpoint, I'll give the point to the iPhone SE as I believe the way it was laid out made a lot more sense as a budget-friendly iPhone. Before I conclude everything, there is a few more things. It will require more real-world testing to get a definite answer, but Apple claims the iPhone 16e has 4 more hours of video playback on a single charge than the iPhone 16, and the iPhone 16e is the first iPhone to have an Apple-designed cellular modem chip that can help reduce energy consumption without sacrificing speed. Overall, the iPhone 16e is the winner against the iPhone SE, and I will say yes, the 16e still works as a budget-friendly phone, but not at the level the SE was able to achieve. Now, should you upgrade? I'll say yes if you're using a regular iPhone 11 or older and are willing to give up your ultra-wide camera lens. If you are using a regular iPhone 12 or 12 mini and are thinking about upgrading, you will get a better main camera and chip, but will have to be willing to sacrifice 5G milliwave in the United States and MagSafe charging along with your ultra-wide camera lens. If you have any unique questions or a question on something I may have missed, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to respond to them as quickly as possible. I'll be signing off here, and until then, I'll see you in the next video.